Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today, we are three pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. Some of my best friends in the world, Pastor John Richardson, coming from Richmond. It's like the episode or the movie The Replacements on here today, man. An upgrade.
Absolutely botched my hometown. Adam Denny is from Richmond.
Oh,
I'm from
sorry.
Roanoke, man. So
See,
it's
we're
okay,
having to work
man.
on this.
You haven't seen Adam in a while, so it's easy to make that slip.
I know
Paul,
exactly where he's at too. He's
Paul,
over there.
tell us about that sign you got behind you there.
Well, I mean, it explains itself right now. Basically, all that you have is just abandoning ship and saying the pool matters more to me
Adam
than
does
hanging out with
love
friends or a gospel-centered conversation. So that's just kind of where I'm going to leave that right there.
Whew. Man, he loves that pool. He's probably getting his tan right now. My apologies, John. Just Virginia, Rainbow.
It's okay.
They all
thing.
kind of too many R's. But man, it's great to see you. We got a fun little stash of questions today. And guys, football is finally here. It's close, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the sports lay of the land. But John, I'm going to start with you. Everybody's excited. Football time is back. Tennessee and Virginia are coming up this week. And so what are some of the things that you're watching? What are some of your early playoff predictions? What's on your radar?
Yeah, I was actually writing some things down as I was thinking through this. So I'm not just going to shoot from the hip here because a lot of Tennessee fans are going to be out there listening with a lot of empty dreams, and I don't want to put them on blast. But let's just name a couple playoff predictions to get this out here. First is Alabama is going to return to form. They're going to return to form. They have two great coordinators that are going to come through and revamp. They're going to make it to the playoffs. It's going to be a fight, but I think they're going to make it all the way, including Georgia in that conversation. Always, they just continue to reload. Pretty sure Smart's paying out some hefty price tags to get players in there, but I can't confirm that. We just assume that. That's a part of the conversation. On paper, number 3 is one of the best rosters college football is Texas. They've dropped a game here or there that's booed them out, but honestly, when you look at who they have starting versus any other team, they could absolutely win it on talent alone. And I think this is year. I think truly this is their opportunity and their shot to jump in there and make a splash. And then finally, the sleeper, although came in last year, probably would have given a much better effort in the college football playoff game. I think Michigan Wolverines are going to put it together this year. I think they're going to I think they got a great backfield. They have a great defense, and they're going to be my sleeper-ish pick there.
That's pretty good. John, you want to give us being in Virginia, what are you forecasting for that UVA game?
I think UVA is gonna have to just be in that rebuild mode this year. Obviously, they're coming up against a pretty good opponent, but I have to be careful here because I have church members that are diehard fans, and so we're going UVA all the way.
Nice. You know, if Adam were here, I don't know which direction. One day he's with Liberty, next day he's with Carolina, next day he's with this team and that team. I can't even keep up. But Paul, what's your prediction for that team down there in South Beach?
Nah, I'll be nice. Look, man, I always have high expectations for Miami. I love Miami, but I'll be honest. They are rebuilding. Okay, so I'm comfortable with. Let's say, you know, if it's over a 500 year, they've got a decent, you know, hey, they did good. I'm happy with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm not setting myself up for some 10-2 season or anything. That's not gonna happen in Miami right now. So I mean, if Cristobal can start getting things in order, I'm excited to see TVD out there on the field. Hopefully he stays healthy and things will continue to go well. I think we got a great quarterback with TVD. And so, you know, that's the things that I'm looking forward to. The ACC is a tough, you know, division now with a lot of upcoming teams that are there. And so I see them, you know, maybe at a bowl. I don't know. There's like 500 different kind of bowls, but you know, whatever bowl they end up with, they might be playing against Texas
Yep.
Tech or something like that, you know.
But Paul, we know that country meets Cuban, and your real team is Alabama. I see you repping that A all the time with your wife. I don't know if you do it just to appease her, but I know you got a little crimson in you. You think
Oh yeah,
Alabama's going to recover like John?
I think so. I think. Listen, you can't sleep on Saban. There's no way that guy's just gonna sit down and say, "Nah, I'm gonna be fine. I'm not gonna do any homework." No, the guy's a winner. He wants to win. He wants to go out there. But I will say, man, like Georgia is tough now. For us to think, and I don't listen. I don't. I'm literally in the buckle of Georgia over here with all these Georgia Bulldog fans. And I'll tell you, the last thing I need is a three-peat. That's not, and nobody that's probably worse than Tennessee fans, to be quite honest. But it's one of those things that you can't help but to look, and they are a dangerous team. Like they've got people they've picked up, got receivers that they have. Like they have a stud offense. Like there's no other way around that. So we'll see how Alabama does. But if I had to go and say, hey, here's some playoff predictions, I think Michigan is a sleeper. We got to look out for them. Texas has been coming, and they've been rebuilding for a while, so that's true. Ohio State is no joke. You can't leave them out of the way, too. Ohio State they've got some studs up there. So if I had to say, I don't know, it's a toss-up between Alabama and Georgia, but for sure, if I had to include some teams in there, Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, and Georgia. I mean, those are all contenders, I think, for the playoffs this year, if I had to pick early predictions of who's going to be in there. Anyone?
I think honestly, given your situation, if I were you, I'd wager, right? Like who has the best record at the end of the year,
Yeah.
Georgia or Tennessee? You guys have a campus or a church located in Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee. You have another one located there in Ringgold, Georgia. I would put it on the line. Whichever team comes out with the best record, all the members of the church goes to that location for that Sunday. I'd throw it across the staff. I'd put it out there. See how many fans are willing to put it on there.
Well, let me tell you, it's going to be Georgia, okay? Because Georgia has the biggest cakewalk of a schedule. Oh, my goodness. Every year, they don't play anybody tough out of conference. I hate to say it, Georgia fans, you're going to be in the you're going to be in the SEC championship. You'll be in the Final Four because you don't play anybody. But wait till Oklahoma and Texas come on over to the SEC. Georgia's got a new quarterback, so you really never know how that's going to land. John, I pretty much agree with you. I'd say definitely Georgia, Alabama. I think Ohio State. I don't think Ryan Day is going to lose 2 years in a row to Harbaugh, but that one's a toss-up. And then my sleeper is USC. Caleb Williams, Heisman. If they can just tweak that defense up a little bit, they're not super far. A lot of teams are leaving their conference. So those are my four, but just kind of a run through of some of the teams we talked about. Georgia's got a cakewalk. They're going to be there. Here's the game to watch. Week 2, Alabama versus Texas. Arch Manning, what are you made of? Do you want to be your uncle? Do you want to be the next heir apparent? Go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama, which Georgia fans, Alabama is putting their money where their mouth is. They're playing Texas week 2. They played them last year. It was a great game. It came down to the wire. Sam Ehlinger almost beat him if his shoulder wouldn't have got hurt. So I'm going to be watching that. Tennessee got a new quarterback, Joe Milton. I got Tennessee going 9-3 this year. They play Georgia. They play Bama. I think they might lose one, like Texas A&M. I mean, if Texas A&M doesn't recover this year, Jimbo's going to be out of a job. So I think Tennessee's going to lose a toss-up game, a game that they were favored to win. But still, 9-3 is not bad. I really like their coach. He's a good one. Another team is Oklahoma. Brent Venables came in from Clemson. He's a defensive guy, and their defense got shellacked. So can they recover as they get ready for the come back to the SEC? Drake May, John, your boy in North Carolina. I want to see what he's going to be a top 2 pick. So can they get over the Clemson hump? Can Clemson rebound? A lot of interesting storylines going into college football season. So I'm definitely going to be watching.
Yeah, I am. I didn't mention it in the playoff. I don't think they make the playoff because I don't think their defense is yet sorted out the issues, but their offense is going to be spectacular again. And I think maybe they lose 2 games through the year. One of those will be to Clemson somewhere along the way. But I think by and large, it's going to be quite the turnaround, and he's going to go either 1 or 2. I'm putting him at 1.
I would too, because, man, he's got a big body and he's a tall quarterback, and so that'll be fun to watch. Hey, let's segue into NFL. We're in in light of training camp. We're going to talk today about our NFL quarterback preseason power rankings. Now, Paul, you can give us some good commentary. John, I'm going to let you give us your list first, and then I'll go after you.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and disappoint there. There is no Dak Prescott on my list. We're
Amen.
talking about the top 10. Yeah, I'm not delusional here. Don't get me wrong. I think he falls just outside the top 10. Let's get that out of the way. The three have to be set on everybody's list. If they're not, then they're just wrong. You got Patrick, you got Burrows, you got Allen. Those are top three without a doubt. They've proved it over and over again. The calf injury is not going to be an issue because we know that guy's going to push back through. And then I have an interesting one at Hebert. I think he comes through. They've added some receivers. I think he's going to have the breakout year. You guys are going to see something incredible. Addition to him is the second year coach there at Jacksonville. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to continue to ascend. He had a great year last year. And now that he's got an actual coach and not one that's wilding out on the weekends, we can finally start to see his potential match what is going down the pipe. And then I think I think Jackson's going to he's got a good turnaround here. Finally got the deal locked in. I know he's injury prone, but there is not another person that I would be afraid to stop on a fourth down and goal in all of the NFL. I think he's just got that ability. Hurts is going to continue to do well. There's no reason he can't come back and have another stellar year. I think on my list, he's just a couple plays away from really doing something incredible last year. Finally, the last three are toss up. I could go really far. This is where Dak, the argument for Dak's going to come in, I'm sure. But I think Watson comes back. I think he comes back. He jumps in. He's been a Pro Bowler 4 out of the 5 years he played. So I know he had a long layoff. I know there'll be some rust, but I think we can at least put him in the top 10. Finally, I think you have Jones there. You got the running back comes back, Saquon. He's going to have an opportunity to really have a breakout year, start to shoulder some of the responsibility. And this is the one that's going to get me in trouble, but I am a believer. We got to go with Purdy coming out of San Fran. I think he's going to continue to press into this coming year, and he's not going to be a fluke this year. People are going to look around and say, maybe this guy's the real deal. And honestly, probably could have had a good run last year if not for a couple injuries. So just a couple to name the list. Sorry, Dak is not on there. Let me finish up with this. I am so glad we can make this happen without Joe Frajowski here to jump onto this conversation. So,
oh gosh, I'm just gonna. I like Brock Purdy, but Mac Jones. Oh, John, come on. He got all that money for what has he done, Mac Jones? All right, my list looked pretty similar to yours. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. A lot of people are underrating Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to shut up some haters. I think he's going to come out hot. I got him at 4. I agree with you. Justin Herbert, 5. Here's my only fear with Justin Herbert. He's getting Kellen Moore, the former Cowboys offensive coordinator. He calls plays individually. He doesn't call a scheme or a concept. So you're going to see a lot of trick plays, a lot of inconsistency. He lets the game dictate his play calling rather than his concepts on offense and his strategy dictate the game. So boy wonder, we'll see how you do with him. I agree with you. Number 6, Lamar. Am I frozen again?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're
Lamar,
doing great, man.
Awesome. Lamar, Odell, I want to see. Odell's got a lot to prove. Can the ACLs hold up? That was a tough one. Him or Trevor Lawrence, but he's an MVP, so I'll give him the lean there. I go Trevor Lawrence at 7. He needs to keep on ascending. By the end of the year, he should be in the top 5. Jalen Hurts, 8, right there at 8. He's had more success on the field, but obviously we all think his ceiling's a little lower than Trevor Lawrence. John, here's where it gets me. I went into this list thinking unbiasedly Dak's not in the top 10. And I did. And then I was sitting here at Mean Mug, and I pulled up the whole NFL. And I was sitting there looking, and I was like, I can't put Dak in the top 10. I was like, I'm going to look like a homer. But then I just couldn't do it because here's why. Okay, let me just tell you. Matt Stafford hadn't played in a year and change, okay? Who knows? He almost retired. Who knows what Matt Stafford has left? Derek Carr got cut by his team, and then they paid him to go home, okay? I can't put him in. Deshaun Watson looked like trash the last half the season he'd played. He hadn't really played meaningful football in 3 years. Ryan Tannehill, come on. Tua hadn't even played half a season. And I like Tua, and Tua might be top 10.
Dog. Come on, man.
He's only played 1 year, though. Tua, like, who knows if Tua's going to get bopped out the
Played through
first
like
game.
5 concussions, bro.
And wait, like in his defense, he also played better concussed than Dak played regular, bro.
Oh, stop. You know that's not true. And then
It's
Jared
true.
Goff.
It's
And then
true.
Jared Goff played good. It finished well against the Lions, but he couldn't make the playoffs, and he's Jared Goff. So I really, really tried. And John, you and I both know Kirk Cousins is not better than Dak. I don't want to hear it. He's got the best receivers of all time. So even though I wasn't trying to do, I was trying to keep him out. I got Dak at 9, Kirk Cousins at 10. I have no problem. Like, between 9 to 15, it's interchangeable. If you say Stafford, no problem. If you say Carr, if he's playing good, no problem. Deshaun, I think Deshaun is better than those guys, but I got to see it. And so Dak on his best day can be top 7 to 10. Dak on his worst day can be 10 to 15. So the fact that he won a playoff game, and the fact that, he carry, like, when he can carry some games, he can't carry consistently. He is not a top 5, definitely not. He's right there on the cusp of 9 to 10, but so is Kirk, so is Stafford, who throws a lot of picks, so is Derek Carr. So I feel like that's pretty respectable. Wouldn't you agree?
Hey man, I'm gonna let you have your list. I mean, Paul's here analyzing the list. He's the one that's going to fill in the gaps. We could disagree, certainly. I'll say this though. Let's just put it out there. First 7 games, you're going to get the top 10 Dak, no question about it. I think he's going to play well. Last 7 games, historically, you're going to get number 14 seed Dak Prescott. And to be honest with you, I'm really concerned.
Well, see, I agree with you. Go ahead, Paul.
I was just say, if I had any commentary on it, it's like, look, John proved it. What I was going to say, which was, are you going to question the reliability of what Dak Prescott can do in the first opening 7, 8, however many games? But to put him at elite, where you have him. Oh, I know that he's not even outstanding. He doesn't even make the top 10, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
But he's a pretty good quarterback. Okay. And here's the thing. The issue is crunch time. That's been the thing. And I've been here on the podcast before. You guys have talked about that before. And so that's the thing with Dak is at crunch time, can he be who he is games 1 through 7, like John said? And I think that's the thing that people long for. And that's what I don't think pushes him even over the top 10, because you have other guys that can probably do that.
Yep. Now, I agree. And that's where, even though I'm not a McCarthy fan, hopefully McCarthy will take the ball out of his hands, run the ball, let him be who he is. Dak's greatest skill is his leadership intangible, which when you're the quarterback of America's team, you got to have that. But anyway, we'll see. There's a lot of we'll know within the first 10 weeks who the top 10 guys are. Hey, let's end with this. Paul, I'll start with you since you're going to like this question the most. What is your favorite college football? And we're going to put this on Facebook like we did with the movie thing, because that blew up. And so we want to hear y'all's feedback. Paul, what is your favorite college football?
You broke up again. Go back.
Crap.
Reset.
Crap.
Hey,
sorry.
we'll just flash a picture of Dak up as a transition there.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Always fading at the end.
Always fading. And then, am I good now?
Yeah, you're good, man.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right. Paul, I'm going to send it to you, and we're going to put this on the football community because we want to hear everybody's feedback like we did with the movies. Paul, what is your favorite college football nostalgia moment? And we know Miami has a ton.
Oh, gosh. I can't get over the moments where FSU would either go wide left or wide right. I think that's some of the most iconic nostalgia moments in Miami Hurricane history. And it's just, there's no other way around it. And if you were at the Orange Bowl in that moment, either watching it live there or you saw it on TV, it was awesome. But yeah, wide left, wide right. That is classic Miami FSU rivalry football nostalgia in the hearts of a lot of Miami football fans, in my opinion.
That's a good one. Alabama's got a lot too. John, what are some of your moments? What sticks out?
I mean, I got to go to maybe one of the greatest championship performances in all of college football, and it's got to be Vince Young. 400 267 total yards, 200 rushing, 267 passing. And there's not a more hyped moment. I remember watching it when Vince is 14 seconds left to go, or 19 seconds left to go. It's fourth down and some change, and he walks it in, wins a championship. Underdog moment. They came in with a lot of hype. They got put down pretty quickly, and literally, Young single-handedly won the game. Put everybody on his back and walked it in. So I don't know if you can really eclipse that kind of moment for me.
I agree. Great moment. I'll never forget watching that game. Man, that USC team was one of the most hyped up teams too. The greatest team of all time, and man, he just came and dominated. Another moment like that popped in my head was when Cam beat Alabama in the SEC championship. Cam went on a Superman run year too. I don't know if he was quite at the peak of Vince Young, but it was pretty close. Another one, Paul, that popped out, one of my earliest college football memories is a 2003 Fiesta Bowl between Miami and Ohio State. And it went to overtime. You had Ken Dorsey, and Miami was loaded back then.
Not a good memory for me.
Man.
That was not.
Man, you had Jim Tressel. Man, you had Jim Tressel on the other side.
That was baloney, bro. Man. I cannot believe the fireworks were going on. Oh, go back on the field. Go back on the out of here,
let me throw in, since we're going to cast in another one, we have to throw in the Appalachian Mountaineers went into the big house and put on maybe the greatest show in history, underdog performance. I was watching that game. I was excited. It was incredible. I was not wildly surprised because they had kicked around quite a few teams for 3 championship seasons there. And so that was great to watch.
Yep. And then the last one for me, Paul, your wife will appreciate this. The kick 6. Actually, just kidding. She won't appreciate it. She'll hate it. The kick 6. Auburn beats Alabama, and the infamous player on the sideline. We were all at Temple together, and man, I remember Gene Lennon was going nuts when that happened. That was a pretty crazy moment too, when Alabama had to take the bow and Auburn won that night. Good moment. Excited for college football is just around the corner, and NFL's coming too. So, fellas, let's jump into our ministry and leadership segment here. And we got some really good questions. You guys did a good job of kind of shaping our conversation. First, we're going to talk about ministry and leadership, and then to end it, we're going to talk a little bit more about Christian living. Paul put out a thing this week and just taking some questions from different people on the Bible and Christian living. But first, John, I'm going to come to you with this one, and we can all kind of pass it around the horn. Let's talk about young pastors. So here's the question, John. How do you equip a new upcoming pastor, and what are some important things to consider? Maybe theology or leadership or shepherding. What comes to mind? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, some of this is according to our context right now. We have a lot of pastoral openings and seemingly not as many people that are willing to jump into those openings. Some churches are persisting 2-3 years in some positions opening, and we're not just talking about secretaries or something else. We're talking about main or student pastors, lead pastors, whatever. And so I think right now, given the context and the space we're at, usually there was a traditional route of someone growing up in the church, feeling a burden or aspiring to go into ministry. They'd go do some stuff, serve within the church, maybe even transition and go to a seminary somewhere or do some online work. And now you're starting to look around and honestly, there's going to have to be some lay leaders. They're going to have to be raised up both in lay positions of eldership or paid position of eldership. So kind of thinking along that train, I think what the church needs to do, and particularly some of the pastors in there, is they're going to have to start creating a theological base, both systematic and biblical theology for their people. They can no longer just preach sermons and hope it gets caught. With some of these guys that they feel like are really being raised up, they're going to have to come in and intentionally teach them some of the content that they got in seminary, while also tracking through some of the leadership speed and changes and paces that we have running through our lives that are at a heightened rate.
John, a lot of good thoughts there. Paul, what sticks out to you?
Yeah, no, I think everything John was saying is absolutely right and helpful, man. I mean, now that seminaries have given I've given students a chance to be able to learn online, and you have a lot of great material that's on there. I think that's good. I think if there are students that want to be able to do that, they should do it hand in hand with a church, because I think local church theological training is bar none the best theological practical education that you can ever get if you're going to be called to ministry, hands down. And anybody in seminary will be able to tell you that there's a place where there's things that need to be there for the benefit of students that are going to go in so they can concentrate and do that. But truth be told, like, seminaries exist because churches fail. The primary job for the church is to theologically bring up in training and in practice those who are called to ministry. I mean, that's the job of the church. Now, again, I say that, but I'm not dismissing the great gift that are the seminaries that we have. I love our seminaries, and they do an absolutely phenomenal job. I am a benefactor of our Southern Baptist seminaries. I truly am, and I'm
Oh, come on. Don't tell me my internet's going out again.
that need to be done within the church, depending on where they're at, who you're raising up. And it really just comes down to making sure that there is an intentional pathway to how you can be able to train those individuals who are called to ministry. And like John mentioned, like, there are things that are important for, a lot of young guys that are aspiring to be pastors to know and understand, but there's also the ground level, granular stuff. Do you have a prayer life? Do you have a list of your people that that you're praying for on a regular basis? Are you about the business of, like John mentioned, like going and actually meeting the needs of those who are hurting? Like, have you gone to, a hospital visit where there's somebody on a bedside that's heard quite possibly the worst news that they could have ever heard, and you've taken the time to be able to sit with them, mourn with them, weep with them, pray with them? Like, those are all things that are part and parcel to the pastoral job. And I'll tell you, like, it's important to learn how to be able to, like, exegetically take something apart. And that's huge, because as the pulpit goes, the rest of the congregation goes. If you don't get the gospel right, you're not going to get anything else right within church. That is essential. At the same time, there are absolutely essential things that need to happen, when it comes to pastoral practices and what you need to be doing. I mean, we should be pastors that are praying for our people, executing shepherding skills to be able to meet certain needs within the people, lead other people. Like, all those things matter. And so for us at Brainerd, like, we have a residency, we have a partnership with Southeastern. I'm starting a practicum with a bunch of guys this semester with Bible Exposition 1, which Shaddix is going to do all of the teaching, and they're going to watch a lot of the video. But then I have seat time with them that I'll do in weekenders, where they're going to craft sermons. They're going to get opportunities to be able to preach, so that they can actually get not only the reps, but also the theological training that they need. And so when you can have a pathway that allows for both, that's important. And then broaden it to a lot of other things, right? I mean, there are things that we should be doing as pastors to equip those for the work of ministry, the saints for the work of ministry. And so how are we resourcing? And to your point, like, Joseph, you're doing this weekend. Like, how are we resourcing life group leaders so that they can effectively know how to read God's word and teach God's word, right? That's huge. The same thing with our volunteers that are in kids ministry. How are we supporting them? How are we resourcing them so that they can be able to do their jobs effectively and well, love kids well, and then at the same time know how to teach the gospel to kids? Like, all of those things, I think, are on par for how to raise up leaders, equip leaders, and then just release them for ministry.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in on the backside of that, because he was talking about Equip Center for the churches that maybe don't have that etched out pathway. You can still get some of your elders, some of those pastors, copy of a good copy of a systematic theology, and just go 30-40 pages at a time, having them write some thoughts and reflective ideas, begin to equip them with a way to kind of work through the grand narrative of scripture, while also healthy categories to be able to understand the character and the person and the presence of God. And so I think that'd be good. In our situation, we have lay elders in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And those guys are not going to go to seminary. And so we just walk through a systematic theology together in our monthly meetings. And they produce papers synthesizing the information, connecting it to their practice. And then the church can be blessed because we can disseminate those papers out to the church body, and they can read it and reflect and go talk to that person. And so it's really helpful all the way around.
That's good. I agree with both of what y'all said. I do feel like just coming out of the education field just recently, I do feel like in pastoral work, there's two distinct sides that are both absolutely necessary. I feel like the seminary side does really good for the theological training or the preaching. Um, and I'm not going to say it doesn't do good, but there's really no way to get the experience of the ministry side of doing a hospital visit without just cutting your teeth as a young pup in a church like each of us have done. And so you've got the theological preaching side and then the pastoral ministry side. I think a lot of guys have trouble balancing that out. A lot of them know how to preach. They love getting in the text. They love studying theology. And sometimes maybe due to their youth, they kind of neglect the ministry side, the visitation side. And I think that's equally as important. And so I just jotted down a few notes that popped in my mind. Creating a ministry philosophy based on serving, humility, and relationships. And each of you guys modeled that well. And so that's so important in the early days because you can have it all up here. But if you have soft hands and you're not willing to get in the trenches and the mud with some of your sheep, then your message isn't going to go very far. So that was one thing. Another thing is I think giving opportunity with positive coaching. And so this could be preaching opportunities. This could be just leading a group of people, leading an event, maybe leading a hospital visit and caring for a family, leading a discipleship journey with somebody maybe who's dealing with something, just giving them active coaching. I agree, hospital visits, there's value in that stuff. I think sending them down to like expanding their palate, sending them down to preaching kid church. Because if you can't effectively preach the gospel to kids in kid church, then you're not going to be able to effectively do it to students or to adults. And then just putting them in different spaces to kind of make them just adapt, I think. All these things cutting their teeth. I love the concept of shaping young guys. I want to ask y'all a question here in a minute because there's two options that churches take. You can either get a young guy who you have to shape and walk through their formative years, or you can get a guy who's, you know, a professional or like a specialist in an area. And so churches say, which do I do? But I think exposing them to a wide variety of reading, preaching, ministry philosophy, and then also just on preaching side, having them preach through books that maybe they've never taught through. You know, some of the Old Testament books where they're really going to have to sink their teeth in stuff outside of the Gospels or the epistles. That was really formative for me in my theological understanding of the Bible, and then teaching those different narrative texts and things like that. So those are just a few things off the cuff. John, I want to start with you though with this question. What are your thoughts? You know, everybody's aware that there's a shortage of pastors, and I don't know about y'all, but I have really felt the burden to call out the concept that Shane Pruitt and some guys have talked about on our podcast and the book. But what are your thoughts as far as when churches should hire outside versus when they should hire inside and raise people up?
Well, I think it's a testament both to the ministry DNA that you're trying to either perpetuate or change, right? Like, are we going down a path that's clearly slated, that everybody understands where we're going, and we're starting to see people who adopt that DNA and then begin to graft that into their typified path and begin to see that really blossom. And so really based on the need. Now, if you're looking for a change or you're a new guy, you may bring somebody in from the outside that will help have that same philosophy or mindset. I think for me to really look at hiring, right now we have a youth pastor position open. I am more of the nature to hire somebody who's generally called to ministry and doesn't necessarily have to be called to student ministry. And why do I say that? One is because if they have a love for God, and then a love for people and a love for our church, then I know God can use them in a lot of different roles, and they may develop passion or zeal for a particular thing. But I also know that they have this calling and burden for our church and the church and for God. And that means if things change, they could be moved into a different role without going, well, I thought I was going to be a student pastor for the next 50 years. And there's only a handful of those guys, right? So we're talking about, so someone who has a generalist, right? They understand expositional preaching, they understand pastoral care, they have a great heart for being a healthy member within the church, they have a great love for visitation and seeing people, and you say, you're my guy, and now I want you to learn specifically how to shepherd students or parents or children or some of those other things, and apply yourself to there. I like that better than the specialist role personally, because I think God can develop that passion within that ministry over time, than trying to fit that guy into another role when they only have one passion, one zeal, and you don't have that open for them.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of times you see the specialist role, I guess, more in mega churches, which is the minority, because some of their ministries, their middle school ministry, might be bigger than most churches. And so that might be the contrast. Any thoughts on that, Paul, before we move on to the next topic?
No, I mean, you guys summed it up. I mean, there's certain positions in larger churches that, you may not be able to find within, your own congregation, like we're looking for a communications director. Well, I mean, that's a role that's often befitting for a church that has a large number of people and has a lot of things going on. And so you need a specialist in that particular area. And so that's the nature of that role is just different. Now, if you get a chance to, man, like if you can have somebody on the inside as opposed to being able to look for someone on the outside. I mean, you have somebody they know the culture, they know the church, they love the church, they're there for a reason. You're practicing already what it means to bring people out of the congregation for the purpose of fulfilling ministry within that congregation. I mean, you can go on and on with a list of whys that would be immensely beneficial. And that would be my first hire, is raise somebody up right there and let them fulfill the ministry that's in need there, because they have the burden to do so right from within the fold, right? And you're 50 steps ahead than bringing someone from the outside. But that doesn't mean that someone from the outside may not be a good fit. It really just kind of depends, because to John's point, like if the culture is not to raise up, then it would do you very well to find somebody that has that same mentality to raise up other people from the inside, so that now you have dual efforts. Right. It's not just you, it's you and another pastor that say, hey, raising pastors matters. And so it really just kind of depends on the context of where you're at and how that may fit, and yeah, mega churches are a whole nother beast.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Let's move on to our last two questions that we collected from our Christian community. And Paul, I'm going to start with you. This is a really good one. We can just kind of bounce it around here. Here's the question, Paul. If we are saved by grace, then why do we have to obey the Bible?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Oh, our old Greek professor decided to pull that one on us, man. So hopefully we can answer this one.
Shout out to
really
K
well.
Wood.
Yeah, man. Oh, Kevin Woodruff, bro. Yeah. So this is a really great question. I think a question that I think it's worth defining terms, because if you don't really kind of define the term, being saved from, and equally as much, what are we being saved to, right? Because that's as important. But beyond that, I think what's even as much as important as answering those terms, answering the defining and answering what those terms actually are, is why grace at all, right? like you got to begin there, I think, so that you can understand exactly what you're being saved to, right? Because when you think about grace and when you think about why even at all, like when you know that costly redemption is as costly as it is in Jesus, when you know how much he died for us, and the great love that he has for people, and what I mean, when you know those things, the whole gamut of what costly redemption is, that is a very good teacher when it comes to helping you understand what you're being saved to, right? And grace doesn't just save you, it instructs you, it guides you along the way, it helps you, right? So for example, like if you take the life of Paul, who went from being a guy that was empowered by the religious elite day to be able to do whatever he wanted, however he wanted. They basically gave him a license to kill, because they knew that this guy had some pretty big murderous zeal in his heart to just dismantle anything and everything that had to do with Christianity, right? And we saw that in Stephen, right? Like, for a fact that Paul was behind. Fast forward when he's on the road to Damascus, and they've given him his license to do whatever he needs to do to basically stop this church. There is where he met Jesus. And here's the interesting thing. What did he deserve for what he did? I mean, he rightfully deserved wrath, and he rightfully deserved justice for what he did. He committed some egregious things, not only by what we see in the book of Acts with Stephen, but like in his life altogether. You have a rather prideful, self-righteous individual. All of those things are sinful before God, and it's deserving of his justice and of his wrath. But yet, what did God give him? Grace, right? And mind you, we can go into the whole details of how we reconcile justice and wrath and love and grace. Short answer, look to the cross and you can see that all mingled. But at the end of the day, what you find is an individual who bent the knee to Jesus because of the grace that was offered to him. And then from that day forward, Paul never got over the grace that was given to him, right? I mean, how many times do you read Paul there specifically talks about riches of God's grace that has now been unlocked for believers, right? And it's not like some care package that God sends down, right? Once in a while, here's what you get for the grind, right? Like, that's not how grace works. We're not just saved to get the Willy Wonka ticket to go to heaven. That's not what grace is. That's not what the gospel is. The gospel is where the whole reason behind the gospel is that you never had God before, and now you do have God. So that's the whole point behind us being given grace. We're brought back into a relationship with God. And so when you know everything that you've been given, right, we obey what the Bible says because we don't take advantage or presume upon grace. We are overwhelmed by the fact that God was kind enough to give us what we don't deserve. And when you're overwhelmed at the fact that God has given you everything that he has given you in Jesus, that is where grace becomes an incredible teacher to be able to not only show you why you should obey, but good night. You don't want to somehow or another take advantage of that and act as if it's not a great teacher. When you know what you've been forgiven for, when you know, sudden you willingly, joyfully, thankfully, and lovingly say, I will live out whatever God desires for me to do. And if that doesn't happen, then this is why I began where I began, is because if you don't see grace that way, matched with obedience, then there's something deeply wrong with how we understand and know what grace is and what we've been given. When we see ourselves as Paul, then all of a sudden everything begins to change. And we say, you know what, if it weren't for the grace of God, I wouldn't be here. And if it weren't for the grace of God, I couldn't have a relationship with God. And so that's why we should obey. We have to obey because grace should overwhelm us, right? At the very fact that it's been given to us.
That's good. Well, with my unstable Wi-Fi, John, you want to take us out
I would
on that?
I'd like to just add on to that, I guess, for just a second.
Go.
One is, I think it's answered in the question, right? So it's not if we're saved by grace, but since we're saved by grace, where does obedience fall, right? Like, we are saved by grace, no doubt about that, which means we're not saved by obedience, which then wonders, well, what's obedience fit in? And if you just read across Ephesians 2, right, the first 10 verses, you begin to unpack the rationale behind the gracious salvation, and then the response of that, and not boasting, but obedience, right? Like, we're dead in our trespasses of sin. We know that, like, there's no way to bring your conditions, but God being rich in mercy because of the great love in which he loved us, calls us to live together with Christ Jesus. This is a work that he's done, which is not something that we've merited. And then Paul ends up with the phrasing that we were his workmanship, right? Created for good works that we should walk in them. So it gives you the disposition before salvation. You were children of wrath. You had the spirit of Satan. You were following the prince of the power of this world. All those things defined who you were. And then God redefined through regeneration, through salvation, who you truly are. You're a recipient of grace and mercy and love, but you're a recipient of those things because you're his greatest creation, and he's created you to carry out the works that he's intended and placed before you since before you were born, and your job is to walk in them. And like Paul was saying, if you understand grace properly, then you would understand where you are to where you're going and what has caused you to move there through the great gift of Jesus Christ. But also, it should also propel you to go, okay, you've changed my entire life. What do you want me to do? What can I do? Like, I can't pay you back. Good works are an opportunity to display your gospel to a lost and dying world and to glorify you in worship. And so those are the things that I would pursue in that conversation as well.
What a powerful concept and picture to unpack. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry Zoom has been unreliable today for us, but I'm frozen here, but you can hear me. Next week, we got Derwin Gray coming on, former NFL player and now current pastor. So super excited about that. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you later.